these different quotes of fate and determinism. Yeah, Stoics on fate and determinism. Let's see if we can go down. Well, it's basically the same thing. Okay, there's another webpage. Let's see. Zeno of Citium quotes. Zeno is was the creator of the Stoic philosophy. He says, this is a quote by him. He says, "Fate is the endless chain of causation, whereby things are the reason of formula by which fate is the endless chain of causation, meaning things are always caused, things are always taking place, which then causes the event after to occur, which that causes the event after that to occur, all the way to the beginning of the world, and so on and so forth." As we mentioned in the last webpage, it says fate is the endless chain of causation, whereby things are the way that they are. Things are the way that they are because fate is the endless cause of causation, which causes things to be the way they are. It says the reason or formula by which the world goes on, and the world goes on by this endless cause of fate and this endless cause of determinism. And as you go down, I'm going to read another quote by him that we all know today. It says, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say." That's a quote that he came up with. You know? So now you understand what the Stoics could have. So now we understand what it was that the Stoics believed in, based upon the Epicurean belief of fate. Okay. Wait 1 second. And this is something called this is on Wikipedia. Right, this is fatalism, which is a belief of the Stoics. This is on Wikipedia, determinism. When you go down to fatalism section, it says fatalism is normally distinguished from determinism. Fatalism is the idea that everything is fated to happen, so that humans have no control over their future. In other words, we don't have any free will. Oh, Proverbs 20:24.
16:1, 2.
Yep, yeah. Proverbs 20:24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? Because it's not us, it's the Most High. So they could have said, okay. You know? Here's another one. I had 2 scriptures I wanted to get to. Jeremiah 10:23. It says, "O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps," because it's the Most High. So they'll be able to think. They'll be able to look at him and say, "Well, that makes sense. That makes sense." Things are determined beforehand because that's fatalism. It says, fate, back in Wikipedia, fate has arbitrary power and need not to follow any casual or otherwise deterministic laws. Types of fatalism include hard theological determinism and the idea of predestination, where there is a God who determines all that humans will do. This may be accomplished either by knowing their actions in advance via some omniscience, and we better not all knowing, or by decreeing their actions in advance. So fatalism and determinism, fate and determinism. Now let's see how the Epicureans felt about that. And it said, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get to that at the end. It says how the Epicureans think about that. Now remember, the Epicureans, what you would call believed in something called materialism. You know, they believe that everything was made out of atoms, correct? Now this is a webpage that says let me highlight this so I can get back to it. It says this is called Turtles All the Way Down blog.com. It says, "Was Epicurus the father of the modern world? The Swerve Revisited." Now let's see what was the Swerve. It's other web pages I had up, but for some reason they don't want to fucking load up, man. They do not want to load up. I don't know why. It was working yesterday and for the longest. Now they don't want to load up, but it's alright. I'm gonna go right down to the point. You'll see it right here in post-production. It says, "The particles of matter experience in unpredictable times and places a minute, swerve. It says, which sets off a ceaseless chain of collisions. Whatever exists in the universe is the result of these random collisions of particles over a limitless expanse of time. This results in everything we see. The random swerve of elementary particles gives rise to free will. Wait 1 second. Alright, good. Give rise. The random swerve of elementary particles gives rise to free will and sentient beings. For if all of motion were see, it says the random sentient. It says the random swerve of elementary particles gives rise to free will and sentient beings. Sentient means able to perceive or feel things. Like how when you see Death in a cartoon, they always make Death a skeleton with a scythe in his hand in a robe. That's a sentient being. In other words, they've taken the actual event of death and it made it into a sentient being, meaning it's something that can actually see and feel. Shit, which the Lord is really the Grim Reaper. It tells you that in Revelation the 14th chapter. The sickle. For if all motion were of one long but predetermined chain, because they believe that we all were made out of atoms. And if all these movements of atoms were of one in one predetermined chain, then there would be no possibility of freedom, because they believed that there was a void in between the atoms. They believed that the atoms would move in straight lines. They believed that the atoms would move in straight lines, but what they believed was that there was a void in between the atoms, and the atoms would sometimes begin to swerve. Which, since the atoms would then begin to swerve, it means it was not determined what direction the atoms should actually go in. Therefore, the atoms had their own free will and ability to swerve. Therefore, we as human beings, being made of atoms, have our own ability to swerve. In other words, have our own free will. Niggas is bugged up, man.
That's polite right there.
That's polite. Phil Valentine. All these niggas, man. You know? These niggas is bugged out, man. That sound like some bugged out shit.
They sound like sophomores.
Yeah, they sound like sophomores. They sound like wise fools. You know what I mean?
Huh.
These niggas is bugged out. Let me go back. Let me read that again. Sorry. Wait 1 second. Alright, I'm back. It says, for if all motion were of one long predetermined chain, meaning if the motion of these atoms were supposed to be in one predetermined chain, one predetermined direction, then there would be no possibility of freedom, because the atoms swerve. There's voids in between the atoms, empty spaces that the atoms can swerve through. And since the atoms are not a part of one predetermined chain and they can have voids and swerve through, they have their own free will to move. And since we're all made out of atoms, we have our own free will to do what it is that we want to do. Because the atoms are not inside of us are not predetermined in a particular route. Therefore, our actions shouldn't be predetermined either. So that shows you the difference of who could have accepted what Paul said and who couldn't have accepted what Paul said. You know? Here's something else on the same page. See if I can find it. Okay, it says understanding the nature of things generates deep wonder. The realization that the universe consists of atoms and void and nothing else. That the world wasn't made by a providential creator. That we aren't the center of the universe, that our emotional lives. Nope, that wasn't the one. We'll jump up a little bit more. Void meaning space through which matter moves, and that void would be the space in which the atoms will move around inside of us according to them. Collides, combines, and moves apart. The universe consists of matter and space. Nothing else exists. Let's go on. This is a webpage called Biblical Training Epicureans, right? I'm gonna jump right down to atoms and freedom. All that remains, according to the Epicurean, is to frame an acceptable physics that will see mankind through the present life. If all natural phenomena can be plausibly explained in terms of atoms moving through empty space, the atoms moving through empty space, the last reason for fearing the gods is gone. Such explanations the Epicureans give of sunlight penetrating the air, of images in mirrors, of the sun and moon, of thunder and lightning, and of other things, but especially of sensation and reason, all in terms of atoms moving through empty space. These explanations need not to be absolute truth. All that is needed to show is that no divine purpose rules nature is to give a materialistic account that is possible. More important than many of these details is the theory of free will. Two opposing theories would make life miserable. First, if God had planned the universe and determined everything, nothing could be in our power and ethics would be impossible. Second, if all the atoms were always mechanically determined, as Democritus taught, the same unacceptable collision would follow. The physical theory in which the atoms generally move in straight lines, but sometimes for no cause whatsoever, swerve just a little. So it says, see, the atoms move in a straight line, but for some odd reason, for no cause whatsoever, no cause, no predetermined cause, they just happen to swerve a little. Hence, men, that is, human bodies composed of atoms, can sometimes, for no cause whatever, move in opposition to the laws of mechanics. This is free will. Hence, nature is to a limited extent under human control. The future is not wholly ours or wholly not ours, so that neither must we count upon it as quite certain to come, or nor despair of it as quite certain to, not to come. Destiny, which some introduce as sovereign over all things, man laughs to scorn, affirming rather that some things happen of necessity, others by chance, others through our own agency. For he sees that necessity destroys responsibility and that chance and fortune are inconstant, whereas our own actions are free. Exercise thyself in these and kindred precepts day and night, then never, either in waking or in dream, will thou be disturbed. So now you understand when the Apostle Paul made a statement in Acts 17th chapter, when he said the Heavenly Father determined time before appointed, who could have gotten it, but who couldn't have gotten it? Because the Stoics believed in fate and determinism, but the Epicureans believed we have free will. So the Epicureans wouldn't be able to get that. Some of the Stoics believe can match it, but then again, they still wouldn't want to hear it either. You know? And Polite said, people saying, why you got a problem with the Israelites? They saying the white man is devil. They saying they saying this, that, and the third. Why would he accept it? You understand what I'm saying? You might say certain things that certain people, but he don't even agree white man is the devil. I'll give you an example. The so-called black conscious people, they can agree that the white man is the devil like what we agree with. Because they agree that the white man gonna be exterminated. No, they don't agree with that. Because they don't believe what the scriptures teach. So some people in the Epicurean and Stoic philosophy may have been able to agree with certain things that the Apostle Paul was saying, but they wasn't gonna push aside their philosophies to believe what Paul believed in. Like now, UPK believes who the Israelites are. They believe that they teach the name of the Most High and the Son, and so on and so forth, who the real Israelites are. But do they believe the RFID chip is the mark of the beast? No. And the last part, it's a little bit more. There's another page. It says, newepicurean.com. No fate what we make. I'm going to jump down to a quote by a man named Cicero that I'm going to get right back up. This says, Cicero on the nature of the gods. Do not attend, said Epicurus. This is what Epicurus said. Do not attend, said Epicurus, to these idle and imaginary takes. Do not attend to the operator and builder of the world, the god of Plato's Timaeus, nor to the old prophetic dame, the fates of the Stoics, which the Latins call providence. In other words, he's telling you don't believe that bullshit. Nor to that round, that's what there's really rivals, nor to that round, burning, revolving deity, the world, was someone that was sent to understand it, because they called, remember they said that what created everything was a logos, which is word or reason, which they called the divine fire. So he says, don't take heed to that round, burning, revolving deity, because he said that everything that created the world was what they call the creative fire, which was known as logos or reason. The world was something that was sense and understanding because it was called reason. These are the prodigies and wonders, not of inquisitive philosophers, but of dreamers. It says Cicero on the nature of the gods. And I'm going to jump up. It says, no fate but what we make. It says, a discussion of the details of Terminator 2 was far beyond the scope of this blog, but composites made from two scenes of that movie form a good frame for discussing the subject of critical importance.